Peace. Farmer Courtney here on location at this pull-off spot, which is where I had one of the first builds that I ever had in depth with Brother Ben X. And the reason I'm here is just because I was thinking about everything that was so pressing on my mind then, and how I ruin everything, right? Like, that's what I hear from people a lot in my life and Cypher, like the people that I'm around. Whenever I bring up stuff, the young people will be like, oh, you ruin everything. Will you stop? Whether it's lyrics, food, busting agendas down, subliminal programming, like whatever. You ruin everything. And so I decided to come here and just sort of honor that journey a little bit and give thanks for the vision of Brother Ben X and just what he put together with the digital real estate program. So I had been in enough coaching programs about online marketing and was always kind of the odd person out. I was really trying to figure out how I would ever be able to speak my own mind and heart within promoting the farm, right? So it was necessary to promote the story of our really small farm in comparison to things. Really small farm, micro product lines, we'd harvest 35 heads of lettuce and oh my goodness, it was amazing. But then the plot was harvested and that was done. And then the next crop would come. So we had a huge variety of product. We had a very perishable window with which to sell it. And the amount of money, if you do the math on the hours of labor, the income, it really doesn't add up. So for me, I always wanted to tell the story of the farm because people would eat my cooking and say, oh, what's the recipe for that? Or, oh, you should have a restaurant. And being naive and not realizing that the restaurant industry has very little to do with if you're a good cook, whether or not you're going to be successful, right? So for years, I did fantasize about opening a restaurant, and I say fantasize because the mathematics of restaurant operation and the day-to-day logistics are huge. Thankfully, I was never successful in that. And I went into doing more sewing and clothing, and then I went back into food, doing, minor substitution catering things or assisting people who are catering or trying to do, pizza nights on our farm, which evolved into opening the bed and breakfast. All that to say is that was really challenging. So all these different online, marketing training programs and stuff that I was in already were not a good match for the farming thing. So I was having to translate and having to, put it together. It wasn't as simple as like, here's the link, sign up for my free thing. It was much more in depth. So that's when I started studying the different thought leaders and voices and things that were out there. But deep down, I was actually feeling this huge and tremendous pressure that I should be sharing about all the things that I'm learning from the Nation of Islam, specifically the warnings when it comes to watching the weather and famine and repentance of the mindset and behavior patterns of the American people in the fullness of time, and how it relates to prophecy and how it relates to every single social problem that the wisdom of this world is exhausted and has absolutely no solution for. So there was a point in time where I was really complaining to the God that first introduced me to the teachings of how isolated I was. And he smirked and laughed at me and shook his head in the way that he does. And I caught it out of the corner of my eye. And I'm thinking, are you mocking me? Like, I am really pouring my heart out. I am at the end of my rope. I just feel like I'm barely hanging on, like one tattered little string in, the braided cord. I just feel like I am going to just drop out. And like, what you're talking, why are you minimalizing this? Like, I am saying something for real, but it didn't faze him. And he said, do you have a phone in your pocket? I said, that I have a phone. It was, a low model in the day. But yeah, I had an iPhone 4. And he just said, that argument that you used to put out that you are isolated, it doesn't hold up anymore. You have a phone in your pocket. Go follow people from the Nation of Islam. And I thought, well, I follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and I follow the official pages of the Nation of Islam. And he said, no, Go find some MGTs. Go follow some NOI. Go follow people in the Nation of Islam. And so I thought, okay, I know how to use hashtags, because I was doing sustainable farm, small scale farm, foods, local foods. I knew how to use hashtags. I knew the whole thing. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. And when he left, that's the day that I followed Brother Ben X. And then, through the content, I would follow other people that he was building with in the nation. And I just started following people. And I was really timid about talking to anybody because my own time was super small online. And I often just, would get overwhelmed if people were sending me lots of messages or comments or things. And even though I know that other people's lives and, routines and everything weren't the same, I still just felt like, you know what, I don't actually feel qualified to take up their time, right? So, and I literally used to, like, if I left a comment, or a question for Brother Riza Islam or Brother Ben X, I would send them money on Cash App because I just felt like, wow, thanks for taking the time, and if I had it. It wasn't every single time I commented or messaged by any means, no. But I would, because I just felt like, wow, look at these men. They're out here just teaching. I can't even imagine like how much time this is taking because I just had so little. And so I just came back to this spot because this is the first place that once I got on a discovery call with Brother Ben X when he was putting out his program, Paid to Lead, it was called, I wasn't really focused on getting paid cash wise. I was not the business side. It was more the creativity and innovation side was where I was placed. But the ability to talk to people and bring all the things, so the thing within myself that I had been repressing, right? How to speak about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as a Caucasian, connecting it to food, farming, health, and the time. That was actually really what I always wanted to talk to people about. But I was told I couldn't do that because, we had a farm to run. We had a business to do. And then later, had a bed and breakfast. And how bad is it for business to have me, being so weird? Like, you can't talk to people about this kind of stuff. And so I was always in observer mode, really providing excellent service, clean hospitality, dozens and dozens of reviews of people from all walks of life and countries, saying that I provided excellence in hospitality. We don't still run the bed and breakfast, but all those reviews are up on Expedia and Airbnb and bedandbreakfast.com, like those kind of places. And so I'm sitting here, I was on my way home and I thought, you know what, I should go there to make Day 13's videos because it was really a changing moment for me because the first time that I had a discovery call where I heard the price of the program, Brother Ben X gave two options, right? Are you going to sign up in April or are you going to wait to June? And I heard the price and I said, that thing that happens a lot when you're just sort of exploring and you're not necessarily ready to commit to something, but you're really drawn to something. So I said, well, I'm going to do the one in June, right? And then I could hear him, how tired he was on the phone, because he was at a point where I could recognize how hard he had been working and studying and assembling and putting together a really good program and offer and all these things. And I just, at the time, wasn't quite a qualified, aligned buyer. And then when I hung up the phone, I couldn't get the whole conversation out of my mind. And I kept thinking, you know what, you're actually not going to be in any better position in June than you are in April. And you have to just do this because your life is not ever going to shift. And you're going to look back in June at where you were in April and the choices you could have made. And you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. I'm like, damn, okay, all right. So I found the link in PayPal. I sent him the money and then I sent him a text, and just said, I'm in. I'll do the April one. And I've been in the classroom ever since. So if anybody that's been in the digital real estate program, as it's now called, and been like, who's the white woman in here? That's why I'm in there, because Allah aligned our paths, and I was permitted, to be an early customer. He could have not permitted me to be in the program or whatever, he could have made that decision, and he let me in. So that's why I'm there. And I pray that I'm as respectful as possible and, operating in the way that I should anytime that people have interaction with me in there. But anyway, that's why I'm in the class. And so, I was sitting here thinking about how much my life has changed on a variety of levels. And then also how much, if I would get out of my own way, it could continue to change. And so that's just a little bit of, my appreciation post for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan today, because without his steadfast and tireless efforts of the last 67 years as his work in the Nation of Islam to continue the leader of the Nation of Islam's work, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his physical absence, I wouldn't have ever connected with any of the, with any of the teachings through any of the people. And I certainly would not be in the digital real estate or involved with teaching homeopathy in Hereafter Farms or any of the things. So I guess, just the takeaway message would be like, do it uncertain, do it scared, do it anyway. Just follow that inner prompting from God if your heart is in the right place, and he will guide your steps. And one of the things I haven't really continued to share about, because I ruin everything for people, right? is the famine question. And it isn't a thing that is it's blocked, right? A lot of the warnings. So I can't tag the man who I mentioned in the comments, Ice Age Farmer, on Instagram because his Instagram was removed. He does still have a YouTube, so I can link to him in the YouTube comments, but he doesn't have an account in so many crucial places anymore, because having people armed with knowledge and informed is something that they're really coming after. And I'll do a whole nother thing about censorship and the clean sweep of information, and just the warping of what it means for us to think that we did our research, and also how they gaslight us around that and all of that. But so I know I talk about the podcast in relation to the teachings, and I felt like it needed its own thing. So I also have a podcast about the famine and the coming famine and helping people be more prepared to live through the situation. It's called Nothing But Ingredients, because that's often what my children say when they open the cabinets, because I've ruined everything. So I make all the food, right? So I won't just go to the store and be normal and buy food. I make everything. And so if I'm off schedule, or it's a baking day, or it's a making day, and they're ahead of my schedule, and they open the fridge or they open the cupboard and they say, there's nothing to eat in here but ingredients. Why can't you be normal and make food? So I do make food, or buy food, right? Like, we have ingredients, we're going to make food. So anyway, I was just kind of bringing that all together. Not that you can really be playful around talking about famine, but you can be encouraging by connecting solutions, keeping our view on the will of God, and how, despite how terrible it seems, all the things that Satan and those minds directed in that will are pulling off, that God still created Satan. So even though it seems as if everything is stacked against humanity and this, that, and the other, a savior has come for all of humanity. And so that's why I speak on these teachings, because as much as that whole narrative of everything that's going on with the food supply, the looming infrastructure collapses, supply chain breakdowns, agricultural mistakes, weather events that do a sum total, they add up to severe disruption of food production, if not outright famine. It might not happen all at once, but it is something that has to happen. And part of the reason why I'm out is because my daughter's car is broken, and so I've been driving her a lot. a lot. She's been really working hard. She's training for the volunteer fire department, so she has to drive for classes 2 days a week, and we don't really live near where the training is happening, so that's almost a 2-hour round trip, 2 days a week, and then a 4-hour class. And then she's also, working somewhere. So anyway, we've had reason to be in the car a lot more than we have in the last 6 months together. And she's playing all this music that line by line I'm listening to and being like, oh, that's an interesting sentence. Like, check out how that's programming your subconscious mind. Like, get that out of your mind. And then on the other side of me, I have all this information about famine and agriculture and solutions, and realizing like the majority of people's minds are being informed by such illusionary rubbish and things that are their absolute downfall. This satanic subconscious mind speaking of this really depressed level that, I've been breaking down lyrics and things, and she's like, you ruin everything. And I thought, that's the name of today's talk. I ruin everything. I'm saying that in, jest. I do not hold that at all. I challenge that and rebuke that. I do not ruin everything. But it's just, it brought to mind that I should come here because I was passing by this spot. I've often, had that be part of my journey in motherhood, and this walk of just, how do I articulate this? How do I say these things? And then time in between having to drop this person off and pick up this child and do this and do that. And so there are some little spots where I go, and I think people always look at me like, how come you don't get out of the car? And I live in the middle of nowhere, so I don't come to pull off spots and then actually go on the trail because I'm not walking on them. But anyway, that is day 13, and deeply grateful for the work of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And these posts started from a prompting on his 89th birthday that I shouldn't let myself off so easily and just put up a birthday post, that I need to be consecutively posting for 67 days to truly push past, all of the different things. And so it's been a real blessing so far. And thank you for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.